So good morning, everyone, from cloudy Luxembourg, and thank you very much for joining this info session on the Quantum Centers of Excellence call that we have recently launched and is about to close in a couple of weeks. We want to use this info session just to present some insight, what is the scope of this call, what are the timelines, what are some reporting duties, and we'll also give some room for questions. And with that, let me briefly move on to the agenda for today. So we scheduled around 30 minutes just to give a short overview and introduction, and then colleagues from the REA services of the Commission kindly offered to present something about the participant registration and the ownership control assessment that is necessary for all the actions that we have that have been put under the restriction of the security clause. And afterwards, we would like to give room to you to ask questions. We have some prepared questions, and then there is enough time for you to ask additional questions if you have any. Please also be aware that this session is being recorded and it will be uploaded to third-party services afterwards. And we will also share the slides on the webpage that you use to register for this event. Okay, so what is the general overview of this Quantum Excellence Center call? So we anticipate to fund 2 centers of excellence, and one should have a stronger focus on academia and the other one should have a stronger focus on industry. What we do not mean with this is that they become silos. So that means that industry partners can very well be also part of the consortia for the academic centers of excellence and vice versa. We have foreseen a total grant amount of 20 million euro with an EU contribution of 10 million euro. This is a research and innovation action, and please familiarize yourself with the conditions of the national funding authorities, what the REA action means for this other 10 million that the participating states will contribute. The project duration is foreseen to be 48 months, and these Quantum Excellence Centers will serve as one-stop shops for all the issues surrounding quantum computing applications, algorithms, not simply for quantum computing, but also for hybrid HPC QC. And we are also expecting the Quantum Excellence Center to tightly cooperate with the Quantum Flagship. Okay, what is the scope that we have set out for these Quantum Excellence Centers? So they shall develop novel quantum-oriented application areas, develop and advance quantum algorithms, libraries, application software, both for quantum computing, but also for hybrid HPC QC. Optimizing scalability of these algorithms, test and validate the codes for a multitude of different quantum computing platforms. You might be aware that we are in the middle of procuring different quantum computers and quantum simulators for Europe, vastly different technology. And the more you adapt your codes and your algorithms to these different platforms, the stronger your application will be. The Quantum Excellence Centers shall also establish themselves as service providers and act as primary point of contact for relevant industry partners. This could be seen something akin the national competence centers that we are also supporting. And the Excellence Centers shall also conduct dedicated and extensive user training. I will elaborate on this in a bit in the FAQ section. So the scope of this is, or the idea is that Europe will then become a quantum literate ecosystem. So all the developed codes and the applications and the algorithms within the Quantum Excellence Center, they should be hardware agnostic. I said we are funding various platforms. They should be functional on as many as these platforms as possible. They should also allow further developing already existing quantum computing applications, but should develop these quantum computing applications more towards hybrid operations. And we anticipate to start at the TRL level 4 to 5, and we anticipate to achieve TRL 6 to 7 by the end of the project. So what is the indicative timeline? Now, 1st of March, we are here. The call will close at the 14th of May. The foreseen proposal evaluation is somewhere between June and August. Of course, this depends on the number of proposals that we get. And then after we concluded the evaluation, we will present a ranked list to the governing board. We indicate to present this list to the governing board at the 17th of October, and then hopefully the ranked list gets approved, and then we can start the grant agreement preparation phase right afterwards. And we are foreseeing this to go on between October and December, and hopefully to conclude by December, so that the project then can actually start beginning of 2025. By that time, we are positive that we will have access, so we can grant you as users, as developers, access to the HPC QS hardware that we think is available by December 2024. And then we are also anticipating to provide access to hardware that we are currently procuring through the first call for expression of interest that we have now launched a procurement of 6 systems, and the first 1 or 2 systems might become available Q2 2025. So there is some time to adapt, but then there will be access time available. We are also looking to provide you with access time to our 100 plus qubit system that might be available Q4 2026. So as a reporting duty within these projects, the first project review is anticipated to be somewhere around August 2026 in Luxembourg. And then more and more hardware platforms will become available. We are currently, or we have launched the second call for expression of interest for hosting entities, and this hardware might be available around Q2 2027. So we think that there is some good access time on our machines available over the course of this entire project. Then the second project review will be around February 2028, also in Luxembourg, also in person. And then the project is expected to end by the end of 2028, and we will then afterwards conduct the final review somewhere around March 2029. So let me briefly explain and give you an overview of the infrastructure that we are procuring at the moment, and you might then have access to develop and to test and to validate your applications and your algorithms. So as I said, the quantum simulators that we are procuring through HPC QS might become available late 2024. So there will be 200 plus qubit quantum simulators in analog mode, one in Paris and one in Munich. And then we are in the middle of procuring 6 different quantum computers, ranging from superconducting qubits to via trapped ions to photonic systems. And also we're looking at a neutral atom quantum simulator. And these number of qubits are indicative. Of course, we have not seen all the applications yet. So this is just an estimate what we might get. The first systems might be available Q2 2025, and then afterwards become available. We expect all of them to be operational at least by mid 2026, if not late 2026. And then we have a second call for expression of interest currently ongoing, and we try to onboard 2 to 3 additional systems to our fleet. Access time is the thing that you might be interested in the most. So the systems that we own or co-own, we can administer 50% of the access time. And you will get access via this access path that we administer, but also you might get access through the national initiatives. We also have an arrangement with the HPCQS consortium that we can provide you access to the HPCQS simulators. As I said, they might come available end of 2024. However, we need to amend and to update our access policy. Quantum computing is currently not in there at the moment. We are expecting that this process might take up to maybe half a year, maybe a year. We are all in the middle of preparing this and exploring ways to update this accordingly. We are thinking that there will be a mild peer review process established. So that means that in order to get access time, you would submit a proposal. It will get checked on its technical basis, and then you will be granted access time. And I kindly ask you to familiarize yourself with the access policy. We have provided all the links in the presentation, and don't worry, you will get the presentation afterwards. So what are the reporting duties within this Horizon action? So we plan to implement a standard grant agreement according to the Horizon Europe rules. So as I said, we cover 50% of the costs. And at this instance, I kindly would like to remind you that you should familiarize yourself as well with the national funding contribution schemes, because they can deviate from our payment structure. So what we do is we start with the 53% pre-financing at project start, and then have the first installment after 18 months. This is aligned with the first project review. Then there will be a second installment after additional 18 months. And of course, linked to it is then the second project review. And then there's the third installment after another year. This is then the final payment that's associated with the final review. And we have a 5% retention just in case anything goes wrong. And as I said, please familiarize yourself with the national funding contribution schemes, because they will certainly deviate from this funding structure. So what reporting and monitoring duties are we requesting? Each beneficiary must continuously report on the progress. Most of you are familiar with our grants and our projects, so you know that you will submit deliverables, milestones, risk assessments, indicators over the entire project lifetime. And then each beneficiary will provide interim reports at these various instances of time. All the financial statements that you submit must detail the eligible costs in the respective budget category, and all costs, even if they exceed the amounts negotiated in the grant agreement, must be detailed. And since we have put these activities under the Article 22.5, this is the so-called security clause, participation to this action is limited. So you see that beneficiary should be located either in a member state or associated to Horizon Europe that is a member of the EuroHPC Joint Undertaking. We have, for your convenience, put all the countries here that you can see if the entity that you are currently working for is established in any of these 34 countries, then you're eligible to participate. That doesn't mean that you're not eligible to submit a proposal. Of course, you can submit a proposal, but we would have to deem this ineligible. And this criteria does not only apply to participation, but also to the project activities. And I have to remind you that this also means travel activities. This also means potential home office arrangements and so on. And since this Article 22.5 creates some form of confusion, we are very lucky that we have colleagues from REA that might guide you through some of the processes associated with this. And I would kindly like to hand over now to our colleagues from REA.
Okay. Thanks, René. Hello, everyone. The slides, I think, are still in your control. Perfect. So hello, everyone. My name is Radu Sora. I'm coordinating the validation planning team in the Central Validation Service. Today, together with my colleagues Florine and Charlotte, we are going to cover a few interesting topics for you, easy ones, I would say. I mean, I think it's the easy part of the process, registering your organization. And then we are going to discuss briefly about legal validation, financial capacity, and ownership control. Let's go to the next slide to see the outline of the presentation. So I will explain briefly what the Central Validation Service is appointed to, what are the tasks of this service. I will explain you what you will need to do at the registration phase, how you are going to register your organization in the portal. Very few words about the legal process, the legal appointment, and then very important tips about communication. And what I'm referring to communication, it's strictly communication with the Central Validation Service in relation to all the tasks that we are performing and then that may impact you at a later stage. Okay, clear financial capacity assessment, ownership control, this will follow in a few minutes. So the tasks of the Central Validation Service are as follow. One of the main tasks for us is to verify the legal existence and the legal status of entities. We are also in charge of appointing the legal entity appointed representative. This is the abbreviation is LEAR. We are also, of course, supposed to maintain our database, and with this I refer to validate the legal changes of entities that are already validated in our system and already active in grants or procurements. We also assess universal takeovers. This is more on short mergers between entities that are present in our database. We also encode bank accounts. We prepare the financial capacity assessment. We perform ownership control assessment, and you will hear more about this. And we also perform ex post status verification, such as SME, mid-cap status checks. Thanks. Now, let's go to the registration, and this is a print screen from the participant register. This is the page that you are going to find in the funding and tenders portal when you would like to register your organization in order to submit your application. In order to submit your application, you need to register your organization in order to obtain a PIC number that stands, the PIC refers to the participant identification code. You have two options once you arrive at this page. The first one that it's recommended, it's the one on the left, the one where you are supposed to first search if your organization is already registered, because there is a high chance, as our database is quite big, that your organization is already registered. If it's the case, then you will search for it, and if you find it, you can already use the PIC that corresponds to your organization and use it at submission phase. If this is not the case, absolutely no problem. You are going to register your organization in less than 7 minutes, I would say. So you will click on the register your organization from scratch. And if we go to the next page, next slide, you will have a metro line workflow that you will need to complete. And you are going to be requested to fill in data corresponding to your organization. So get ready in the sense that once you prepare to register your organization in the portal, you need to have at your disposal data related to your organization, such as, of course, the legal name, registration, number, registration, country, VAT number. These are the things that will be requested for you at the registration. Once you complete all the steps, one of the important one, and I would like to make a point on this, it's the one called authorized user. It's the workflow number 4, the metro station number 4, where you are going to be requested to declare the person who will be in charge of the peak, and you will need to have a valid address. What is more important is also that at this stage, I strongly recommend you to appoint more colleagues that will represent the organization in relation with us. So appoint backups is very important to ensure business continuity already at this stage. In case we want to interact with you, more colleagues will have access to your organization and will be able to reply to our questions. At the end of the process, you are going to receive this famous participant identification code that we call PIC, and this PIC will be in a declared status. Declared, of course, the status refers to the fact that it was what was declared by you as organization was not yet verified by us. And this is why it will stay in this status, but this status is very good for you to use at submission phase. So at submission phase, you don't need to be validated. You can apply to any grants or procurement or contribution agreement price, whatever you are interested in. You can use a PIC that is not yet validated at this stage. Let's go to the next slide. A very brief overview of the process. So let's say you finalize your registration, the one in red, your organization has already a PIC. What could come after, of course, are the checks that I presented at the very beginning. So these checks are performed in parallel. The first one that we are going to discuss very briefly today is the legal check, and where we verify and we validate the legal data that you declared. Basically, what you declared in the portal will be verified by us based on supporting documents. In parallel, we are going to also work in appointing official contact point that we call here. And this is the process that it's also, it's very important, and it's based on supporting documents. And we're requesting the legal representative of the organization to appoint a person as an official contact point for the relation with the European Commission. In parallel, financial capacity assessment, and here you are going to see more details from my colleagues. During all this process, you will see the arrow below. The communication for all these processes will happen via the participant register. That's why I was mentioning it's very important to make sure you have access to your PIC. Let's go to the next slide. Okay. What is the advantage of the legal validation process that the central validation service is taking care of? The big advantage for me and for you as well is that we are only doing this check once. So once we complete the validation of your organization, your PIC account, you won't need to go to the same check, the same process over and over again whenever you apply to another call. What we request from your side, and what is your responsibility after we complete this process, is of course to help us maintain the data. So, and that's one of the tasks of the LIR. It means that whenever there is a change to your organization, once you completed the process, it's good to inform us, and then we will validate, we will update the account in order to make sure your account is up to date. How do we perform our check? We have a set of rules, and we are going to share this link with you. This is a very important document that you will, I'm supposed to recommend you to read it. Of course, maybe it's too early at this stage, but what I would invite you is to bookmark this link and start checking it at the moment of submission, or maybe, I don't know, at the stage when you think is necessary. But it's a very key document that describes very well what we do and what are the rules that we apply in order to complete the validation or whatever process we are going to discuss today. When do we do these checks? Of course, for the legal, we need to be sure that you are validated before you are signing the grant agreement or a contract if we're talking about a procurement. Let's go to the next slide, René. What type of documents we are requesting? Of course, the set of documents depends on the type of organization that is registered in the portal. What is for sure requested for everyone, it's this legal entity form, that it's a template that you need to fill in. But the other documents really are personalized to the type of organization. So if we're talking about a private entity, we will request the registration extract, the VAT extract. Both of them, they don't need to be older than 1 year. And this is a new, let's say, condition. Till last year, we were requesting 6 months. So good news, we're extending a bit the validity of those documents. For public law bodies, we are going to request the law, the decree, the decision, the act of creation. For the treaties, for the international organizations, we will need a treaty to prove that this is an international organization. For non-profit organizations, usually we will also ask the statutes. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so I go back to the communication now. Very important. All communication is exclusively managed through the participant register. So we don't have a functional mailbox in the Center Validation Service to reply to your questions. We rely on what you are going to write in the participant register when you are going to have a question about any process, any request coming from us. You will need to go in the participant register in your PIC account and write to us. On our side, it's important for you to know that all our requests will be notified by email, and you are going to receive a notification, and that's a sample of the notification. I think that's the sample when you finalize the registration, but you are going to always receive this notification. And who will receive the notification? It's of course who has access to the PIC account, to my organization at least. Let's go to the next slide. Very important, and these are the best tips for today. What happens if you lost access to one of those PICs? This is very important to know how to react in this situation, because this type of situation can create delays at the later stage that are not good for you, also for us, and also for our clients. So in case your PIC is declared, you use it at submission, but nobody has access to it, or the colleague in your organization left the organization and he didn't appointed backups. In this case, you need to create a new one. You need to overrule the fact that there was already a PIC. You create a new one and you inform us via the new PIC that the old PIC is not accessible for you anymore, and we will take action on our side by linking the PICs in the system. And in this way, we are also replacing the old PIC in the project with a new PIC that you created. But if your PIC was validated a long time ago and you had a leader appointed, and this leader is no longer there, and there's no one with access, there is a different procedure. For this, we have created a tool that is accessible also in the funding and tenders portal. You have the link in the slide. It's called the lead recovery procedure. In this page, basically, you have a form that will allow you to regain access temporarily to your PIC in order to reinitiate the lead appointment procedure, to generate new documents to appoint the leader. That's it. So that was it from my side. The arrow will move to the financial capacity assessment. I will give the floor to Florin to continue the presentation. Thanks a lot. If you have questions, we will tackle them at the end of the presentation.
Thank you very much, Radu. Good morning, everyone. My name is Florin Puiu, and today I will be presenting you about the financial capacity assessments in case it is needed for your organization. We can go to the next slide, please. And another click. I will start by highlighting the legal basis, which is composed by three main legal sources. The first one is the main one is the Financial Regulation 2018, specifically Articles 196 and 198. The second one is the document already mentioned by Radu earlier, the Rules on Legal Entity Validation, Lead Appointment and Financial Capacity Assessments. And the third one is the call for proposals, where you can find information about the financial capacity in point 7. Next slide, please. And another click, please. The FCA is needed for all beneficiaries except public bodies, including local, regional, and national authorities, and for all individual requests grant amount, which is above 60,000 euros. This is a threshold imposed by the financial regulation as well. Next slide, please. The basic information we ask for assessing the financial capacity of participants is composed by the balance sheets, another click, by the profit and loss accounts, by the explanatory notes and annexes if available, because this provide us a lot of details on the accounts, breakdowns on different items, and so on. And also, if we click again, we also need the audit report, the financial audit report, which has to have an opinion of the auditor, unqualified or qualified or adverse or disclaimer. In case the financial audit report is missing, we can click again. We will request a self-declaration on the accounts in which the participant will declare that the accounts are valid and that no audit was required. This audit report is necessary for requested EU contribution exceeding 750,000 euros, also explained by the Article 196 of the Financial Regulation. If we click again, please. All this information is needed for 2 years. Click again, please. Is needed for 2 years for the most 2 recent closed and approved financial years, which have to be presented to us in the official language if we're talking about EU languages. And the financial statements have to be dated and signed. Click again, please. For newly established entities, we request a business plan with a financial forecast for the next year. Again, please click. Once it is completed, the financial assessment is valid for 18 months from the closing dates. And in the next 2 slides, I will be talking about what you can see in the participant portal. In the participant portal, you have these 2 tabs concerning the financial capacity, where you have this big blue button down there to provide the necessary financial information. And in the next slides, we see how the messages tab looks like. You will have individual emails from us in which you can click and reply to our request. In this case, in this print screen, you see that on 6 July 2021, it was sent an email to the participants with the request to provide us different other information for the financial capacity assessment. And with that, I conclude my presentation and I give the floor to my colleague Charlotte. Thank you.
We don't hear you,
Good morning,
Charlotte.
everyone. Yes, I'm sorry, I was still muted. Good morning, I'm Charlotte from the Central Validation Service as well, and giving you information on the ownership control assessment. Next slide, please. So I refer to actually the same legal basis as René already referred to, meaning the regulation establishing Horizon Europe, the framework program for research and innovation, and this Article 22.5, which gives the background for the ownership control assessment, because we need to check whether participants are ultimately controlled by countries that are eligible. The other 2 sources, the other 2 legal bases that I refer to, the rules on the legal entity validation, near appointment and financial capacity assessment have already been mentioned before as well, and the link has been provided. So I also recommend, as Radu did, to carefully read these rules, the validation rules as we call them, because they contain important information about all the processes that we do, including ownership control assessment. And then a third one is the guidance on participation in what we call restricted calls. Restricted calls meaning that certain countries are eligible and others are not. And this gives important information as well. Within the validation rules, you will find a link to this guidance as well. And all the documents are, in any case, available on the participant register as well. Ownership control assessment is needed for all participants, but there are certain exceptions. Entities that have been validated as public bodies, these are considered to be controlled by their country, and so we do not have to assess it since we already know the origin of control. And then entities that self-declare to be controlled by a non-eligible country, we do not have to assess either. If we go to the next slide, we talk about self-declare because there is an ownership control declaration, and this declaration must be submitted together with the proposal and must already present the ownership structure and corporate governance. Ownership structure and corporate governance are the two main elements, not the only ones, but the two main elements on which the ownership control assessment is based. And so you have to give upfront information on your control. And so, as I said, as I mentioned on the previous slide, if you self-declare at the end of this document to be controlled by a non-eligible country, then of course ownership control assessment is not needed. For the two main elements, ownership structure and corporate governance, we talk about the entire structure up until the ultimate owners. So not only provide information on your own organization, but also go upstream through the intermediate layers of ownership control until the ultimate level. And there are other sources of control as well, such as commercial and financial links. These are not applicable for everyone, but if they are applicable, we need information on these as well. In the next slide, please, I give you a visual. This is what the ownership control declaration looks like. We only give the two first pages. There are more pages and you can expand. So it's a Word document to which you can add as many columns and text as you want. And as is explained in the document, the ownership elements that are needed are shareholdings, are voting rights, are other specific rights, which give information on who is controlling your organization. And as is mentioned in this document as well, we need this for all upstream layers as well until the ultimate level. There's also part for corporate governance. What are we looking for? Well, we need to know who's appointing the governing bodies, what powers are allocated to the governing bodies, how these bodies are composed, what are the rules of election, these kind of things. And this information can be found in already existing documents, and the idea is that you fill in this declaration based on these supporting documents. At the end of the declaration, you need to check the box whether you are yes or no controlled by a non-eligible country and sign it. If we go to the next slide. So I mentioned that the declaration must be filled in based on supporting documents, but you do not have to submit these supporting documents at the stage where you submit the proposal. These supporting documents are asked only for successful candidates when the ownership control assessment is starting. And you do not have to produce any documents. These are already existing documents. So for ownership structure, we mean official documents demonstrating all the direct and indirect shareholders up to the ultimate owners. And these documents may be trade register extracts, shareholders' books, shareholders' agreements, documents that contain this information. For corporate governance, we also refer to official documents describing the decision-making processes within your organization. And again, for its shareholders, all the intermediate levels and upstream. And these documents are classically statutes, articles of association, shareholders agreements. So all these existing documents, meaning that not all companies have a shareholders agreement. This is of course fine. But every company has existing documents describing these processes. And if needed to reassure you, all data and documents that are provided in the context of all validation processes, including ownership and control assessment, are treated as confidential, of course. Next slide, please. So here is the overview of the guidance documents. important is to say that if you need to reach us, as Radu already said, it's through the participant register, through the messages section. We, for ownership control assessment, are also available. So in case of questions throughout the process, do never hesitate to contact us. It's practical if you put in the subject of your message the topic. In this case, it would be ownership control. It is just to facilitate communication. Here, so we give a brief overview again of the guidance documents, so the validation rules, how to register in the participant register. There's an online manual, an IT help desk. There's a research inquiry help desk, but this is more for general questions on research. Again, for specific questions on your validation process, please use the participant register. And there's a legal notice on data protection, etc. as well. So this is it for me. We are available for questions if there are any.
Thank you very much, Radu, Florian, and Charlotte. We want to use this small question section if you have dedicated questions concerning the processes by REA. We will have plenty of time if you have additional questions for the Centers of Excellence call. Okay, good. There seems to be no questions at this stage, particularly to REA.
There is a question, sorry, René, there is a question that we received on the chat. I don't know if it was addressed to everyone or just to a group. It's about UK, if it's eligible to apply, and this is more an eligibility question, so I will leave it up to you and the colleagues to reply.
Okay, thank you very much for noticing it. Let me briefly open
it's
the
from
slide.
Eduardo Altamura.
So this is the set of countries that are each entity registered in one of these 34 countries is eligible to participate. And this is just the rules that we have to play by. There is no other option at the moment. I hope this answers this question. Okay, now we have foreseen plenty of time and plenty of room for additional questions relating to this call. We have received a couple of questions beforehand and prepared some answers. We will go through them briefly, and then I would like to give the floor to you if you have additional questions. And we will then have this in an open format. Okay, so the first question that has been posted to us is what's the technological scope and the specific application areas foreseen for these quantum excellence centers? So the centers should focus on fostering quantum computer oriented applications. It's quantum computing and hybrid HPC QC, both in science and in industry. Please do not see this as pure silos. As I said, participants can also be found in the, let's say, opposing excellence center. The technology developed should be hardware agnostic. It should be user-driven development, and it should have clear vision of end-user applications. We want to focus on the development of novel applications and algorithms, and we clearly favor open source software platforms. That does not mean that proprietary solutions are excluded. Since we are procuring quantum computers that are integrated into data centers, of course, this integration effort is one of our key policy priorities, and we want to see a pathway that clearly demonstrates a convergence of quantum technologies and classical HPC. And then the developments or the algorithms that be developed within these quantum excellence center are of course at the proof of concept stage, but we want to exclude fundamental work on algorithms So another question, or let's say an addition to that, is also that so we should, or the Quantum Excellence Center should address the full either scientific or industrial workflow that includes the testing, the validation of codes, and the quality assurance. The Quantum Excellence Center should, of course, focus on applications that are pertinent to the relevant sectors. For example, healthcare. An example could be drug discovery, cybersecurity. An example here could be encryption, and also energy. And they should develop a wide range of quantum computing applications, but also hybrid HPC QC, both spanning from quantum simulation, also then to quantum machine learning algorithms. And as I said, fundamental research on new QC algorithms is out of scope of this call. So another question that has been posed to us is whether the detailed roles and expectations of each of these quantum excellence centers, so the quantum excellence centers, are expected to develop and maintain quantum computing application libraries and software packages. They should, of course, also offer training, support, and capacity building for quantum computing in general, but also focus on quantum computing applications. They should foster the scalability and the optimization of these quantum computing applications and provide user-driven co-design activities, again, fostering the integration of HPC and QC. But they should also collaborate with other initiatives. Our initiatives are the EuroQHPCI project. So this is the integration project that is running in parallel to our procurement activities. And then we have an upcoming activity, the so-called HPC QC middleware call that is expected to be launched somewhere late this year, could be early next year. And then also collaboration with the quantum flagship activities. And then last, we expect all Excellence Center, of course, to create synergies with other European and also national quantum computing activities. So, and what shall be the focus of the respective Excellence Centers? So for the scientific Quantum Excellence Center, we have foreseen, but this is not, of course, not exclusive. We have foreseen solving different scientific problems with a clear application pathway in mind, problems that could be tackled somewhere within theoretical physics, quantum chemistry, some applications, also drug design, climate modeling, energy efficiency, and so on. And the industry Quantum Excellence Center, let's say, should have a stronger focus, of course, on the industry applications. Examples could be logistics, optimization, cybersecurity, and some form of drug and pharma development. And as I said a couple of times before, these are not strict silos. So what is the expected collaboration with the existing quantum computing infrastructure that exists in Europe and that is operated by EuroHPC? So since we are integrating the quantum computers in HPC systems, of course, we look for at best hybridized applications, workflows, algorithms. But we also see that, these continuous, let's say, continuous integration efforts should be clearly, visible in the proposals. There should be clear pathways, roadmaps that would indicate that these policy priorities are clearly followed. So what are the eligibility criteria for the individual applicants and for the entire consortia? So of course, the applicants or potential beneficiaries, they must demonstrate strong expertise in quantum computing, and let's say preferably in hybrid HPC QC, and also then, of course, to substantially contribute to the objectives of these excellence centers. What do we mean by that? Contribute substantially. We mean that each participant should at least cover 5% of the overall personnel cost and have a justified role in the project, and that is indicative by the responsibility of a deliverable or deliverables. So what training and talent development activities are expected? So we expect that within each proposal, we want to see a comprehensive training program, and that would include workshops, courses on quantum computing in general, but also on quantum computing applications, training, support, and capacity building in these areas, and also to contribute to European efforts around QC application training, for example, the EuroHPC Virtual Academy, but there are also some training activities within the EuroCC canon. So what is the expected intellectual property rights management? As I said, we clearly favor open source solutions, but we are not excluding proprietary solutions to be eligible. But we expect that there is a clear IP management plan and a licensing policy attached, at least to the application, but at the latest, we negotiate this through the GAP phase. And please familiarize yourself with the model grant agreement. You will find the link here as well on the slide. So what are the reporting, the monitoring, and the evaluation duties? I touched on this briefly in the beginning of the presentation. Of course, there will be a work package, or in each project, there will be a work package dedicated to management. But in addition to that, we expect also the usage of continuous integration, continuous deployment platform, simply to provide transparency and also to monitor the progress of the developments appropriately. So what is the foreseen integration of these quantum excellence centers with national, local programs, other EU initiatives, and the quantum flagship? So we expect each application to submit a strategic plan that identifies synergies with existing programs, projects, establishing partnerships and collaboration agreements, and of course to share the resources and the knowledge across the different initiatives. This is absolutely nothing new, and most of you are already aware that this is a substantial part of our application procedure. Okay, what kind of method development of the quantum computing algorithms are expected? So we expect development of new or novel use cases of, let's say, bringing existing algorithms or developing towards novel and alternative use cases to optimize the algorithm efficiency, also focus on scalability of your applications, and then please collaborate as closely as you can with industry partners, because this would give a clear pathway to commercialization afterwards. And as already said, fundamental research is considered out of scope. An important question that has been relayed to us is it important or is it necessary to have a data center or a EuroHPC quantum computer hosting site to be part of your consortium? And the clear answer is no. There is no such requirement. You can strongly demonstrate access to different hardware by other means. So as I said, we will grant access time once the machines are available through the EuroHPC access time. And you can also demonstrate that you have access to quantum computing resources through the national initiatives. So what is the financing structure of the Quantum Excellence Center. I also touched on this briefly in the beginning. So this is a research innovation action. Please familiarize yourself what this means for your national contribution. We co-fund this with 50% of all eligible costs. And just go back to the beginning of the presentation to see how we structure budgeting over the course of the project. So what is the expected structure? More or less, we touched on this already. So there is absolutely no expected structure. Nothing will be deemed ineligible at this moment, except the entities established in countries that are not within these set of 34 countries that we briefly touched on. And I kindly ask you also to familiarize yourself with these documents. You will find the links attached. And then if there are at this point any further questions, I would like to give the floor to all of you and to have this moderated in an open forum. And with that, thank you very much. Are there any questions from your side? It's easier for me if you briefly raise your hand, come forward. Otherwise, I need to go to the chat. Yes, please.
Hello. I'm wondering if, like, the way I understand it, the quantum excellence centers will be geographically bounded, like in a city or something like that. And is it possible, like, does it have to be a consortium from that area that makes a single application, or can a small company from an area where there's lots of quantum computing activity already make an application that will then get bundled into other applications from that area?
So this seems to be a misunderstanding. So the Quantum Excellence Centers, or this Excellence Center, is not located at one particular city or region. So this is a consortium that spans all over Europe, and they would then form this entity of a Quantum Excellence Center.
Okay, thank you.
Right, I have another question from Osman.
Hello. So thank you very much for the presentation. I already asked this in question and answer, so I'm just repeating it here. So what is curious for me is that I have seen many architectures in your ecosystem, like optical quantum computers, trapped ions, and superconducting qubits. So this is kind of something that confuses me, because if you go beyond simulators, if you are going for digital quantum computers, it is very difficult to have something platform agnostic and practical at the same time. Yet in this frequently asked questions number 10, you say that you don't want something purely research, but something practical. So how can we be practical and platform agnostic at the same time? How important is this platform agnostic to you?
So, of course, this is highly important in the sense that it will just make a stronger proposal. So what happens is that you submit a proposal, the proposal will be evaluated by external experts, and the stronger case you can make for platform agnosticism, the better it is. It's simply because we want these applications and algorithms to run on all of our systems. Ideally, they would run on all systems. We understand that there are technical limitations that would not allow for this, but then expand it to as many platforms as you can.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, the floor is yours. Yes, Philippe.
Yes, this is about the funding rate. You said it's RIA, but there are RIA, some of them at least are 100% refunded, but you said 50%. Can you specify?
Yes. So if this is an action administered, let's say, by the Commission, of course, they can have 100% funding rates. But we as a joint undertaking operate under co-funding paradigm. That means we can at best give 50% of the costs, and the other 50% must come from the participating state. And if it's a RIA, at least for some countries, they have then different funding rates for companies than if it would be an innovation action.
And so it's the same 50% for academia and industry. It applies to everybody.
So I would assume that the situation in France is if you are from a research center, you would get for the national contribution also 50% that would then add up to 100. But if you're an academic, if you're industry, that means that you might not get the full 50% from the participating state contribution.
Sorry, I missed that. For industry, so industry people have to fund 50% from their own funds.
No. That means that so we give 50%, and then the national contribution in case of of industry might give 35 or 40%, depending on the national rules. So there is then some gap of could be 25% that needs to be covered for an industry partner by own funds. So that isn't, let's say, an in-kind contribution to the project. But the national rationale for this is, at least to my understanding, that if you can commercialize the products afterwards, you should contribute to some form of it.
And sorry, one more question for academia. So 50% coming from the national side should be negotiated on a case-by-case basis, I guess. There is, yes.
Yes. If you participate in EuroHPC activities, you are responsible to negotiate the other half with your respective participating state. That's true.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I have a question from Eduardo.
Yes, so from my understanding, then all the member countries of the Horizon program are eligible to actually apply. Is that correct?
No, they're not. I presented the slide with these 34 countries because you need to be either an EU member state or you need to be associated with Horizon Europe and be a participating, say, with EuroHPC.
Okay, so and what would that mean, for example, like in the case of the UK, to join as an associate member and not as a lead member?
So you would not be eligible to claim costs.
Okay, so but it would be eligible to actually apply, but not to claim costs. Or is that so? Is that how you would phrase it?
I would kindly give the floor to Daniel briefly.
So in this case, the limitations are relatively strict through Article 22.5, and in fact, the provisions in the applicable regulation provide that proposals where entities from any country that is not eligible to participate is a partner shall be rejected. So it is a relatively strict requirement, and entities from non-eligible countries shouldn't have any role in a proposal. Otherwise, we will have the obligation to reject the whole proposal.
Okay, that's clear. So as to kind of clarify, the UK in particular is not eligible based on that list. Is that correct?
So to the best of my knowledge, the UK is not listed as an eligible region in this call.
Okay,
yes.
Thanks.
Okay, I think there was another hand raised. I can't see any at the moment. Please come forward. Nora Tionen, please.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, no, it was just to clarify that as well, because I know in Horizon Europe, there is a distinction between being eligible to participate or be eligible to get funding. So now I understood that UK is not eligible in either cases, not eligible to participate nor funding. So no role whatsoever.
Yes, this is
Yeah.
correct for this
Thanks.
call, and because of the application of Article 22.5. So it's not only a question of eligibility for funding from the framework program. It's really also about a decision that was made by the governing body of the JU on the how do you say this for strategic reasons. Let me put it like this.
Okay, yeah, that's clear. Thank you very much.
Okay, there is a question in the chat. How should the excellence of the consortium be justified in the proposal? I mean, Quantum Excellence Center is more tagline. You just have to demonstrate that you fulfill all the provisions set out in the scope of the call text, and then make a strong case for yourself why you should be funded. But there is no direct, let's say, way to prove that you're but you're doing excellent work otherwise. Okay, I have a question from Pier Francesco.
Hello, good morning. It's Carlo speaking. Previously you said that aspects such as the agnostic nature of a protocol or an implementation is deemed very important for the proposal. And this to me raises the question of what's the level, what's the degree of detail that you expect in the proposal regarding proposing an algorithm, an implementation, and the problem that it should solve and how it should perform with respect to other solutions. So what's the degree that we should reach in this quite short time for the proposal?
So there is no definite answer I can give to you, because this will be evaluated by external experts and you have to convince them.
Sorry, this will be evaluated by?
External experts.
Yeah, okay.
And you have to convince them, and I'm not part of this evaluation procedure per se, so that means I don't know what would convince them.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Philippe, you have another question.
Yes, it's a similar question. You said there is no fundamental research on algorithm, but who will judge whether it's fundamental or not? It's
the experts. The experts. So you have to make a case what kind of algorithms you would like to develop, and the experts would then evaluate this. Is this fundamental research? Is this application driven? Does this have a clear pathway towards application, towards commercialization, and so on?
Mm-hmm. So it's part of the evaluation of the project to judge this criteria. Okay, thanks.
Okay, Maria Elena.
Hello. Yes, you mentioned collaboration with other projects in Horizon Europe. Is that collaboration, does that have to be an active collaboration, or the fact that if in the consortium composition, one of the participants or one of the beneficiaries has participated in a previous program, would that qualify, or you need to have signed an active collaboration with another project?
Not per se. It would just make a stronger case if we can see that there is good cross connection between the various projects that we're funding. So there is a lively exchange of results.
So it's possible that it could be like a continuation of the research or the research results that were achieved in a previous project. Would that Would that qualify?
Could you please elaborate? I'm not sure that I understood you correctly.
Yes. So, for example, if there's a project, a previous project that already has terminated, and the research results that were achieved in that project, if one of the participants in that project is now part of this consortium, would that qualify? And would you have to argue that there is a continuation of the research results that were achieved in that previous project? Would that?
So my understanding, yes, my understanding of this is it would qualify, but of course this is up to the experts. But I think you can make a strong case that there is a form of continuation within other funded projects in the ecosystem.
Okay, and okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, I have a question from Mikael Johansson.
Yes, hello. So this is about more of this science/industry classification. So in the slides that you showed, so the main difference between these two categories was shown as more or different targeted use cases. In practice, is there any other differences between targeting science or industry that you are looking for, or is it only through these specific use cases like logistics versus quantum chemistry, or
yes.
How do you see this?
Yes, so as I said, we are not looking at silos that are galvanically separated from each other. But for the industry quantum excellence center, I think it's more important to also lay out a roadmap towards commercialization of results than in the academic trade. But it's more or less just focused on the different use cases, and this has some ramifications also on the composition of the consortia. But that's it.
Yeah, sure. But one still needs to explicitly say which one is targeting, right?
Yeah. Yes. The thing is, we want to avoid a situation in which we get very similar proposals, and then we would have to fund more or less the same thing.
Okay. Thanks.
All right. Daniel?
A quick clarification, please, regarding the other projects and other funding projects. Is it just the projects from the quantum flagship that funding that you're looking for, or is it also be other funded projects from participating nations, like say a project funded by the BMBF in Germany?
Of course. I mean, these are national quantum computing initiatives, and it's perfectly fine to present continuation in this line as well.
Thank you.
Welcome. Seville, I have a question from you.
Hi, I was wondering about the distribution of the consortium, and is there an upper first of all, is there an upper limit on the number of organizations participating in the consortium? And the second question is related with the diversity of the consortium. So at the beginning of this presentation, it is stated that one of the centers will focus strongly on academia and the other one strongly on industry. And so what are the limitations on the diversity of the consortium? I mean, only 40% of the consortium should consist of industry for industry focused projects, or similar academia.
So the first part of your question, so there is no strict limit. What limits it per se is the amount of funding, and then the request that we put in place that we require 5% for each beneficiary. So that naturally limits the number of possible participants. And concerning the diversity, there is no such restriction. So we deliberately refrain from putting restrictions on the consortium composition, but please keep in mind that we're looking to fund one for academia, or more focus on academia, and one more focused on the industry. This is just it's a very mild restriction. You can, of course, also propose kind of a hybrid quantum excellence center, but then keep in mind that there'll be competing proposals that might be stronger because they have a clearer pathway and a clearer vision.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any additional questions? I don't see any in the chat. Yes, Pier Francesco.
Will the consortia be funded equally, or it will be dependent upon the I don't know, the science, the academia and the industry consortium?
So we haven't put any parity restrictions. We have foreseen each center to be funded with 4 to 5 million EU contribution. In total, we should oblige to the overall budget envelope. So there could be actually the case that one might require more funding and the other one less. And in the combination, we would observe the envelope, but there is no such restriction. And also, please be aware that this is open for competition. So there could be a strong case why a center, requires more, some require less, and they have to compete against each other. Right, are there other questions? Yes, Philippe.
Yeah, one more and similar to the previous ones. For instance, for academia, so it requires 50% funding from the state. Do you require any initial commitment from the state about that they will provide this 50% funding if the project is granted?
So usually we do not. What we do is after the evaluation, we present a rank list to the governing board. And if the rank list is approved, the participating states de facto commit to funding. So what we are specifically not aiming for is any pre-commitment of the state.
Okay, so this will be done at the negotiation stage, it's something like that. Okay, yes. But then at this point, you will require a commitment.
So it's not necessary, right? So the commitment, so how we operate in this co-funding paradigm is that the governing board and therefore the participating states are aware that this call is currently ongoing, and therefore funding should be made available if the rank list gets adopted. But you do not need to approach your national funding organization at the moment and submit a letter of commitment at this stage. It's not necessary.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Okay, I have a question from Jean-Philippe.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine, yeah.
Yeah, sir. Good morning, everybody. No, it's an extra comment and a partial answer to Philippe. We are accustomed to these mechanisms with EuroHPC projects. It's Jean-Philippe from CEA, by the way. And yeah, we have some process with that, and in particular here, it can be related to the French national program HQE of hybrid platform, and to possibly to INR, and we talk to Ministry of Research, we inform, we anticipate a bit, etc., and we talk with HQE, my colleague Lafoucrière, who has the money for that, and that could be a source of co-funding.
Yes, okay. So we have, personally, I had some trouble on the debt side, for instance, with where basically, okay, it's 50% funded for academia, but government did not really provide what he was supposed to provide, and then we have to pay from our pocket in some sense. That is, and it's a little bit problematic at the academic level to find co-funding if it is not planned in advance. So, well, if it is fine for EuroHPC, that's fine. But okay,
no worries.
I had a little bit of trouble with that.
No worries, no worries. I'm not saying it's pleasant, and I like the way it works. It's more or less always the same in French side, but we not bother everybody with our French problems too long. But we are accustomed to that, and there are ways to proceed. Alas, it is not a smooth process. It's ad hoc process, etc. And don't hesitate to call me. We can discuss that anytime.
Okay, thanks.
And just adding to that, please also be aware that the budget issuing from the national contribution is totally not aligned with ours. So we rely on heavy pre-financing and then have different installments. And this is different from the national side. Or it can be different. Okay, are there additional questions? Okay, I don't see any. Then let me thank you all for participating. It was at least very interesting for me. I hope you got something out of it. The session is recorded in full and it will be uploaded to third-party services afterwards. We will provide a link on the webpage where you registered, and we will also share then the presentation. Oh, I have a question from Daniele.
Yes, René, sorry, last minute question, but the constraint on the 5% of the budget that you have to take in order to participate is on the total budget of 20 million or on the finance or the total budget?
No, it's on your proposal for your excellence setup.
Okay, so our funding, our national funding plus your fund, so the funding of the Center of Excellence in total.
So what we specifically want to achieve with that is that each partner has a justified role in the project, and it's not just there as a mild form of project manager, but has a clear scientific, technological responsibility in the work packages. And we think this is best represented if you claim, or you have to claim, 5% of the personal costs, and not the budget that is addressed. Is the person month.
Perfect. Thank you, René. Thank you for everything.
Welcome. Daniel, I think you want to amend something.
I just wanted to clarify on this guidance that we now more and more provide to our participants with respect to the interpretation of the Horizon rules on having a significant and justified role in the consortium. So you will find in many of our calls that we, on the request of consortia as well as evaluation panels and stakeholders, that we provide some indicative figures on the amount of personnel resources every partner needs to contribute in order to justify a significant role. And for example, 5% or whatever, we have different, it depends on the specific action, what the figures are. So this fraction, this percentage refers to the personnel resources. So this has nothing to do with budget, simply because the personnel costs are very different in the different participating countries. And the significance of a partner is not necessarily related to the personnel cost in the respective country, but it's related to the amount of work they actually contribute. So therefore, we expect that in proposals, consortia clearly demonstrate that all partners have an appropriate amount of the total personnel resources, person months, if you want, and contribute this to the project. So the background is a little bit that in the past we had sometimes the experience that we had in some cases participants that haven't even had sufficient personnel resources for one single full-time position, and that caused, of course, some challenges through the implementation due to the lack of personnel resources, and we cannot easily reallocate due to the co-funding principle that involves also national co-funding that cannot be easily transferred between beneficiaries established in different countries. So I hope this explains how to apply this concept. But of course, if you have any further questions, let us know.
Thank you, Daniel. Osman, you have another question.
Hello, thank you very much again. So first of all, you told about, there will be this panel of experts that will decide if an application is academic or industry applicable. So in this regard, I have confusion about what do you mean by quantum computing, because with your criteria, quantum simulators seems to have a huge advantage over digital quantum computers, because at the moment they are much more industrially applicable and they are platform agnostic, whereas digital quantum computers will have more benefit in like quantum chemistry and other applications. So could you please clarify what do you mean by quantum computing?
Okay, so first of all, the expert panel is not deeming your proposal to be either academic or industry driven. This is something that you propose, and the expert panel is just evaluating this accordingly, depending on how many proposals we get, and then provide us with a ranked list. And in that sense, you would have to convince this expert panel that what you propose, the work that you propose, would allow the applications and the use cases that you develop to be operational on as many platforms as possible. And we understand that there is kind of a head start for the simulators, but it doesn't mean that you cannot make a strong case for digital quantum computing.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, are there further questions? Okay, I don't see any. Then let me thank you again very much. And as I said, we will upload all the documents as well as this recording afterwards. And then with this, let me close. And yeah, we're really looking forward to receiving all of your applications. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, René. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.